Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight we're doing an early impression, a quick hit video, a late night insight. It's been a busy day for me today, but you know, I want to stick with my, I'm a very routine person, and once I get into a routine, I like to stick with that routine. If I get out of the routine, it's very easy for me to, you know, once it's out of the routine, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So I want to keep doing these videos. And today, we are going to do the second fragrance from a house I'm just discovering, I'm just getting to know. So I wanted to put my thoughts out there on the house of Parfums Quartana, and this one is called Hemlock. So before we do that though, we're going to do a quick unboxing because I also want to keep you guys appraised of kind of what I have been going for. And this is a vintage fragrance. It is a fragrance that is not hyped at all. This is a vintage bottle. I think all that's left is vintage bottles. I don't think there is a modern version of this fragrance. I think it's long discontinued. But what drew me to this, other than it being discontinued, which is just usually enough for me to want to take a look, especially if we're talking discontinued 80s fragrances, twofold. Number one, it's described as an animalic spicy. Number two, many people who like things like Boss Spirit, Tenere by Paco Rabanne, Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme, you know, Loewe Essentia, that kind of stuff. The fragrances I love this too. Or it's listed as users who like that also like this. So I was like, that's it. I got a great deal on this. So I had to pull the trigger. And this is a fragrance called Bazzini. Bazzini for men. How about this little packaging? Look at the back. It's in a little plastic case. I'm going to take it out in just a second. But how 80s is this? You can see the ingredient list down there. Let's open this up. Let's see how this goes. Okay, yeah, this is like imprinted into this piece of plastic. Look at that. That's pretty cool. You don't see stuff like this nowadays. Not at all. I don't know what this 503 is. Ethyl alcohol, demineralized water, demineralized, well, of course, and fragrance. Intercosma West SPA, made in Italy. Okay, let's open this bad boy, shall we? How do you open? What's the trick? I don't want to break it. One side's open. It looks like it opens up like one of these Roja deals, but this is not opening. Ah, there we go. It does. Look at this. It opens up like a little mini Roja bottle. How cool is that? I love stuff like this. This is so 80s. I almost want to just spray it and do a just even though I'm talking about this Hemlock from Parfums Quartana, I want to spray this. I want to. Ah, it's never been sprayed. Good, good, good. That's a good sign. That's a good sign that it's never been sprayed. So basically, what the internet says, Bazzini for men is an animalic spicy fragrance, and there's no notes. At least none listed on Parfumo. Let me check. I love this little box. That is freaking cool, man. I mean, I know it's kind of tacky and everything, but yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Let's see if base notes. It's got the built-in sprayer. So 80s. The opening's okay. I like it. I don't love the opening so far, but I'm not going to judge it on the opening. I'm getting some citruses and maybe a little bit of musk kind of peeking through. It's not super animalic yet. Let me just see what Bazzini on base notes says. Just out of curiosity, let's just see if I can get a note listing for you guys, just in case you're curious. And I found this for like 30-something bucks, so I couldn't say no. I mean, vintage, discontinued, 80s, animalic fragrance. I mean, how could I say no to that? That's the kind of stuff that I will blind buy 10 times out of 10. It's starting to open up a little bit more. There's some green touches in here. It almost smells like Angelica or, you know, something like that. Angelica, tea, something, you know, in that range. I don't know if this was a cheapie back in the day or what, but the musks really pop. So I'm starting to get some animalic touches here and there, but it's not like Koros or Antaeus or anything like that. They've got it pretty well hidden. So I would love to know I would love to know what that animalic bit is. Yeah, but I like it so far. It seems good. No note listing on base notes. Let me check and see if Fragrantica has anything, just out of curiosity. Bazzini. Bazzini. Green tea. Tea. Blackcurrant, amber, and musk. So, I said Angelica. There is maybe a little bit of this Angelica-like feeling. Fruity blackcurrant. Maybe like pissy cassia. Is it cassis or cassia? What's the leaves of the blackcurrant that give off that pissy vibe? Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of blackcurrant and blackcurrant leaves with amber and musk. And the musk is very prominent. That's one of the... This is a musky, slightly green. I haven't gotten much amber. It's also a little bit powdery, but animalic, I'm not getting much. Just a slight touch. It seems very intelligently dosed, which is strange for an 80s fragrance. I wanted overdose of animalics, but either way, this is cool. I'm a fan. I love the packaging. I'm gonna put it back in its little plastic protector case. It's got Bazzini written on the top of the plastic right there. All right, here, go live with the Rojas. Go live with the Rojas, Bazzini. Okay, so let's talk about Hemlock. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'll just read the little blurb about this house, because this is kind of a cool idea. So the Les Potions Fatales line came out in 2016, and it explores the treacherous beauty and intriguing lore behind 9 of the world's most poisonous flowers. At once tantalizing and perilous, these mortal fleurs have been used to nefarious ends throughout history. Yield to their charms and surrender to a fragrant femme fatale, or homme fatale. Seductive on the outside, but ultimately dark and deadly. So, I will give you my impression. We'll talk a little bit about the notes, but first, I kind of want to talk about what Hemlock is. And, you know, many people know that hemlock is poisonous, and what makes it such a deadly plant. Number one, it's extremely toxic to humans and even animals. You know, if sheep or cows or stuff graze on the stuff, it will kill them. But even if you're someone who is somewhat familiar with, you know, plants and which ones can be consumed and which ones can't, hemlock can be tricky because sometimes it looks like plants that you can actually consume. And that's what has made it so deadly. Now, interestingly enough, it is one of the more romantic plants in toxic plant, whatever you would call this, the femme fatale plants, I guess, because famously, it was Socrates that chose to die. That was his death method, was to ingest hemlock in 399 BCE. And it says, there's a little poem here by, and the perfumer, by the way, is a lady named Christielle Lepard. And Christielle Lepard has not made hardly anything. This is probably the most famous thing she's made. There is one other favorite. She's a Simrise perfumer. She made this trio of fragrances from a house called Commodity, and they were Milk. It was like Milk Eau de Toilette, Milk Eau de Parfum, and Milk Plus, which is like the extra or whatever it is. I don't know. But I remember seeing it on Sebastian, the perfume guy's channel last year. It came out last year. And so they obviously sent him some bottles and he talked about it, but it's this milky, marshmallowy, musky thing. Doesn't sound like my kind of fragrance at all, but I think that might be even more popular than this, that milk fragrance. She also did a couple fragrances for the house of Christian Siriano, which I've never smelled, but I think Silhouette is probably one of their most famous ones. And then Midnight Silhouette came out a couple years ago. That got a little bit of hype on YouTube for a little bit, but I think it's a cheapie. Marketed towards women, that's unisex, but she didn't make that one. She made the original Silhouette from 2014. So she hasn't made much. I mean, everything else is like a nothing burger. Excuse me. And so she made Hemlock. Excuse me again. So the perfumer is a little bit of an unknown. She did a fragrance called Pepe Jeans for her. Okay, so that's that one maybe you guys know, but I honestly am not familiar with her work at all. So, so that's kind of an interesting little backstory. And let's read the little poem that they wrote for Socrates. It says, Socrates gave a lot of advice and he was given hemlock to drink. Rose Kennedy. So, it's an interesting little plant because it has this, it almost looks like you're looking at like a weed version of broccoli, but instead of having actual broccoli, like the top of the broccoli, it looks like lace. And that's kind of what the opening smells like. That's a good representation of the opening for me, lace. There's this white floral jasmine, big jasmine sambac lace note. And jasmine sambac, imagine you're smelling jasmine sambac wrapped in lace, okay? It's extremely traditionally feminine, let's say. And the first couple minutes, I really did not like the scent because the jasmine sambac was extremely overpowering, and that was almost all I can smell. Now, historically, jasmine sambac is known as a very loud white floral that can sometimes be indolic, and it can sometimes be overwhelming. I know my brother from another mother across the pond, Rich Mitch, does not like jasmine. It's one of his arch nemesises, and I'm sure if he smelled this, he would go, nope. But if you give it a chance, it does kind of start to change a little bit. That jasmine sambac, which is so overpowering the first couple minutes, tends to kind of take a little bit of a back seat. And interestingly enough, throughout this entire composition, at least on Parfumo, there is no hemlock note. It's not listed in the note listing. There is rum Martinique, pink pepper, Calabrian bergamot, crushed leaves, glossy white floral accord, and that glossy white floral accord, so I said lacy, almost like this lace, like silk, but glossy could be another good word. And this is a fragrance of kind of dichotomies, I think, from the way that I'm smelling it. And some of it I feel like I like, and some of it I really feel like I don't like, to be honest with you. I am not as smitten with this as Bloodflower. I'll tell you that just right out of the gate. Bloodflower, the first one I smelled from this house that I did a video on a couple days ago, was almost like an instant. I really gravitated towards the idea. It all made sense to me. The ingredients seemed high quality. And, you know, for a brand marketing these fragrances as fatal potions, les potions fatales, you expect a little bit of danger. You expect a little bit of intrigue. You expect that, you know, you expect to smell something dangerous and intriguing and mysterious underneath. And I'm really not I'm not picking that up on this scent. So what ends up happening is you get that jasmine, you get that lacy jasmine in the opening, and I thought that you got angelica in the beginning, that you get this green angelica-like vibe. Now, that could be the crushed green leaves, and what ends up happening is cinnamon, bark, clove buds, jasmine sambac, styrax, black vinyl accord, black magnolia, cyclamen salt accord, benzoin, vanilla bean, suede, sandalwood, patchouli, tonka bean, musk, and masculine amber woods, which I don't know what the hell masculine amber woods are, but I think this fragrance leans traditionally feminine, not masculine. But it does do some changing, and you know, what ended up coming to the forefront about 5 to 10 minutes in, that kind of saved the day from that overdose of lacy, glossy jasmine sambac, is a note that reminded me a little bit of rubber, of a tire. And I thought of this fragrance. You guys know what this is? This is Bulgari Black. And if you look, it almost looks like this rubbery tire-like surface, right? This is an Annick Monardo, and a brilliant one at that. And this has this leathery, rubbery, leathery accord. And I thought that's what I was smelling in Hemlock. And I actually like to kind of wear these before I look at the note listing and just think what I'm thinking. And that's what came to mind, this tire. And I thought, okay, it's about to start doing some stuff. It's about to start moving. It's about to start changing and stuff like that. There was rum, which I wasn't really picking up very much rum. But I knew it was supposed to be in there. And so I'm kind of just sitting there and I'm waiting. Okay, it's starting to do stuff. And I got tired of kind of waiting, and I looked at the note listing and I saw that it was vinyl. And interestingly enough, you have vinyl, which, you know, has this non-reflective surface, almost like this. So in their words, you have glossy white floral accord versus this non-glossy vinyl, you know, competing for space. And the big white floral stay, even though this vinyl accord, I called it this tire accord, but whatever you want to call it, this rubbery tire accord, even though it kind of tends to push the jasmine sambac slowly to the background, it never really goes away. That big white floral stays. And you don't get the sparkly Calabrian bergamot in the opening like you would expect. But what you do get that comes to the forefront probably within the first half an hour to an hour. And once it joins the party, the fragrance starts to get a little bit more interesting, is the spice. And the spices here are basically made up of a trio of spices. You have pink pepper, you have cinnamon, and you have clove, okay? And those spices start to mix with that weird vinyl-like note and the white floral, which is definitely there. And this salt-like accord will kind of start coming to mind. You might even be briefly reminded of ambergris, but it doesn't smell like you're smelling high-quality ambergris. It really does smell like you're smelling, like maybe you're smelling a hemlock flower that is right next to the ocean. You know, a little bit of a breeze wafting your way. But the focus is really on this flower. Now, I don't know what black magnolia smells like, but I know magnolia pretty well. There's a ton of magnolia trees in Louisiana, where my wife is from, and they're beautiful. They are beautiful trees, I will give you that. And I know she loves them as well, but I don't know what black magnolia is. But the fragrance does have this darkness that competes with that glossy white floral. It's almost like this. You get the white, you get the black, and they're competing with each other for space here. And unfortunately, the darker side of the fragrance does not win. It really feels like that floral, white floral, jasmine sambac, glossy white flowers kind of rule the day with this one. It leans traditionally feminine. There is a little bit of musk, and, you know, if you go... So, if you like this idea, one thing I should mention is that this is a cool idea. I like the idea of the house. I like the fact that they're doing something different, and I said that in my Blood Flower video. But Hemlock was actually used in a fragrance, you know, almost 20 years ago. Ormond Man, and Ormond Woman both used the note of Hemlock. And this was 2002 for Ormond Woman, 20 years ago. 2004 for Ormond Man, 18 years ago. And, you know, this fragrance, while it doesn't highlight the Hemlock note, it actually brings it up as, excuse me, one of the selling points. One of the selling points of Ormond Man is that they're using this poisonous hemlock, this black hemlock note. And this is actually probably much more wearable, and I do enjoy wearing this. Is it boring? Yes, but it's great for the office, or, you know, when you want to wear something that's easy and you're not going to offend. If you're going to a restaurant or something, that's perfect. You don't want the perfume, you know. You don't want to be wearing Secretions Magnifique to a restaurant or something, you know. You want people to be able to smell and enjoy their food and not smell and enjoy you from across the restaurant, right? And so these fragrances have their place, but I bring this up because this idea of using these poisonous notes, Hemlock is not as unique as some of the other ideas that the brand came up with. And honestly, I don't think this one is very well executed. And lastly, I will say, because these are just meant to be quick ideas, they're not meant to be like full reviews or anything, but that amberwood note might bother some people. You know, there are some folks in the community that are staunchly against overdosing amberwoods, and I don't know what masculine amberwoods are. That seems a little strange to me. I do like the waxy styrax. This has only been on my skin for about an hour and a half, by the way. Okay? So it hasn't been on my skin all day. This is a first impression. First impressions can change. But, for me, I would rather wear this Bazzini. Honestly, smelling my right wrist, I would rather wear this Bazzini from 1989. No one talks about anything like that. So, you know, just as a fragrance lover, I can appreciate getting to smell it. I can store it in the Rolodex of fragrances that I've had a chance to smell. I can put my thoughts on video for other people to see if they want to reference it. But this is not one that really makes me want to go and explore more of the brand like Blood Flower did. And, you know, I guess this Parfums Quartana, he's a chap that uses different perfumers for every single project. His newest one, what's it called? Aerofonte, is a Luca Maffei creation. And, you know, he's got one that's David Appel's. He uses a bunch of Simrise perfumers for these, the Potions Fatales line. Let's see who made the Lily of the Valley. Nathalie Benarou, Simrise again. Never heard of her. Mandrake was made by Carlos Vinals. Simrise again. Never really heard of him, though. So the brand is a cool idea. Lisa Fleischmann from Simrise made Datura. And Poppy Soma was made by Emily Bevier Copperman. Never heard of her again. So they're kind of using, I don't want to use the term C-name perfumers, C-grade perfumers, but I'm not familiar with these people. Pierre Constant Guilleros from Simrise made Belladonna. And many of these are marketed unisex. Blood Flower, Digitalis, Hemlock are marketed as unisex. Lily of the Valley, Midnight Datura, Poppy Soma, Venetian Belladonna, and Wolfsbane are marketed for, I'm sorry, the Wolfsbane is marketed for men. The other four that I mentioned initially are for women, and then Mandrake and Wolfsbane are marketed for men. So the two I've tried are unisex. I would love to try the Mandrake and the Wolfsbane. I'd love to try all of them, to be honest with you. But this one, this Hemlock is not as interesting. It's not as, you know, it doesn't get me excited to try more from the brand like Bloodflower did. Again, this is an early impression that very well could change, but I think Hemlock probably even leans a little bit feminine. So because of that, and because it's really not all that original, I have some Hemlock. There's actually other fragrances I've talked about on the channel that use the note of Hemlock. Cape Heartache by Imaginary Authors has a Hemlock note. Spell 125 by Papillon, which I did an early impression on the channel already. You can check that one out under the Papillon playlist. Has a Hemlock note. And a couple from the brand of Pine Ward, which I'm very interested in talking more about his fragrances on the channel. Mirkwood and maybe a couple others have the note of Hemlock. So it's not that rare of a note. And in fact, there's not even a Hemlock note in here, interestingly enough. So I, you know, I like the idea. I like the concept. But this one's not for me. This is this would be a miss. This would be a pass. Glad to get to sniff it, but I don't think I would seek out a bottle. Bloodflower is a maybe, but I would love to smell more from the brand. I would love to know you guys' thoughts if you have experience on Hemlock, or I mean, only an hour and a half in, maybe 4, 5, 6 hours, it completely changes and turns into something amazing. It's very hard to do these early impression videos. But stuff like this, where I only have a couple drops, I'm not going to wear it as my scent of the day. So, you know, I just wanted to put my thoughts out there. So, scent of the day today was Guerlain Heritage, by the way. And speaking of, the vintage EDT is a masterpiece. One of my favorite masculines of all time. So, thanks for watching, everybody. If you have experience with Bazzini or Hemlock, I would love to hear your thoughts on either. I love seeing your faces in the comments. Thank you for the support. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye now.